All right, let's talk about Argentina. Is it affordable right now? Is it possible to still be cheap in Argentina and then specifically in Buenos Aires? Well, I'm going to talk about it. I did tons of research before I came out here for months. I've been on the YouTube vlogs, I've been on the YouTube podcasts, I've been on Reddit, I've been on the Facebook groups. I'm in multiple Facebook groups, specifically about the Buenos Aires Facebook groups. And a lot of people are talking about how expensive Argentina is right now. They're talking about how it is unaffordable. And I'm going to give you my take from being here, from doing the research, and just from doing research into other places in South America and Latin America. Now, if you guys do not know, Argentina is going through they were going through an economic crisis a year and a half ago. So if you were here a year and a half ago, which is where a lot of this concern is coming from, people comparing prices from a year and a half ago, you could get steak dinners and food for $5 to $7, $5 to $8, and it was really cheap. It was extremely affordable, especially if you earn on Western dollars or in euros or Canadian dollars, right? It was extremely affordable. It was extremely cheap. Now, the thing with that is, right now, because they have finally kind of stabilized the currency, they're trying to get a little bit more structure with the currency. The currency isn't fluctuating as much. Things have gotten more expensive. And I'm not going to go too much into the politics because personally I don't know a whole lot about it, and I know there's opinions on the Argentine side and other places as well. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but as of right now, the currency has pretty much stabilized a little bit where it's not changing all of the time, and things have gotten a little bit more expensive, double, if not triple in certain instances. Now, in general, when you're out here in Latin America and South America, it's pretty normal. It's not just Argentina where, electronics and certain clothes that are exported, there's a lot of stuff that's exported out here, but you don't come out here and buy that stuff. You're not coming out here to look for that stuff. Now, you can get local goods. I got a shirt the other day, a really cool streetwear shirt for literally $15, 15,000 Argentine pesos, so probably about 12 US dollars to be completely honest. And so when you find local goods, you can find them cheap. Now, if you're getting exported items, technology, of course, cameras, computers, phones, that is really expensive, but you come here with that. If you're coming here to travel and be here, you come here with that stuff. You don't come here to buy that stuff. So that's something to take into account, is the exported items are expensive. Now, when it comes down to the food, yes, food has gotten more expensive here. But just like any other city, when I'm going to compare Buenos Aires is a major city in the world, like a major city, like Tokyo, Hong Kong, Miami, New York City, Paris, right? Those are major cities across the world. That is what Buenos Aires is in South America. So when you're comparing prices here to that of a small town or to that of a small area, that's kind of an unfair comparison. You got to compare it to the major cities. And out of those major cities, Buenos Aires is still extremely affordable compared to those. Right now, I just got a coffee, a flat white, which is a double espresso and some milk, I believe, and that was 3,600 pesos. So, basically $3 in US dollars. Not bad. When I go out for drinks, when people are talking about, oh, it is super expensive for drinks, beers are $8, $9, that's not the case. There are still plenty of places where even during happy hour you can get 2 beers for $6. Beers are typically 3 to 4,000 Argentine pesos. So it's pretty normal on that front. You can still get cocktails too. I've seen multiple places with cocktails for $6 or $7. $6 or $7 for an Aperol Spritz, or $5 for an Aperol Spritz. You're not getting that anywhere in a major city. I'm telling you, there's not one place in Florida that you can go to that gives you an Aperol Spritz or a cocktail for $5. It's $15. Where I'm from in Tampa, St. Pete, it's literally $15. That's the same price in Miami, if not more, right? In New York City. So when you're comparing it to these large cities, yes, it is definitely more affordable, in my opinion. Now, if you're always trying to eat out, then yeah, you're going to get stuck with a $10 to $15 bill in most places. If you're in touristy areas like Palermo, which is very well known for being an expat or nomad or a touristy spot, or Recoleta or Puerto Madero, those spots are definitely going to be more expensive because they're touristy spots, just like any other city in any other country that is touristy. You're going to get the gringo prices, you're going to get the tourist prices. Now, if you do you're walking around like I have, I've found multiple spots where I can get sandwiches for 4,000 pesos, which is great. I can get a sandwich for $3 to $4, a full-blown chicken steak sandwich, a jamón y queso sandwich for $5. So there are places and there's pockets just like any other spot, just like any other city in any other country, that you can get things for cheaper. So it's just finding those spots and not being completely in the touristy area. If you were to go to a grocery store, I've been eating or making my own food about half the time, and you can still, like, straight up get ground beef and steak for really cheap. You can get 2 kilos of steak, like per kilogram of steak, get it for $4, $5. There's butchers and there's local butchers all over the place where you can get better deals as well. But to me, when you're making your own food, it's still really affordable compared to US prices, compared to, Publix in Florida where it costs $12, $15 for a steak. So that, in terms of meat, is really affordable. The wine out here, right? We're in Argentina. It's wine country. The wine is cheaper than water. You can literally get, an average bottle here for $3, $4, $5. Still, really good, decent wine. I'm not any wine connoisseur, but I like my red wine, and so that is still really cheap. Now, like I said, the expensive things are going to be exported items, going to, nice restaurants in touristy areas. But in my opinion, if I were to go to a nice restaurant in the US, in Florida, in these major cities, if I want a steak dinner there, it's going to cost me $50, $60, $70 per person. And then, right, think about a 20-30% tip on top of that. Here, if I want a good meal here, it could be 20 to 30,000 Argentine pesos. So in general, you can still get a really good meal just like you would in a Western area in the US, and it's still half the price, if not a third of that price. So good meals are still affordable in my opinion versus paying, an exponential amount plus a tip. Now here, it's small tip culture, 5% if you want to. They don't, include that tip on the checks or anything. So you're also not paying that extra stuff. So in that case, right, I think that is much more affordable here. Now here as well, rent is very affordable. It's the reason why I actually chose Buenos Aires over other Latin American, South American cities, like places in Brazil. Now I know Brazil with the real is having some issues where things are on the ground are much cheaper, like food. But when I was looking at rent there, it was crazy expensive. It was like US prices to get a condo or an apartment that was really not that comfortable in my opinion. Where here, you can still get really affordable rent, $500, $600, $700 per month. Studio, one bedroom apartment, depending on where you want to live. Of course, if you're going to be in Palermo, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Of course, if you were fine with going outside of the areas, like I'm in the Almagro, Palermo area right now, kind of right on that cut line, and my place was $650 for the month. So rent, in my opinion, is still extremely affordable here. Now, one thing I will say when it comes down to what's happening in the country is the Argentinians, yes, the Argentinians do seem to be struggling in certain places. They're not going to be going out all the time and eating out all the time, and these prices affect them more. And yes, they've gotten more expensive from over a year and a half ago. And they're also not earning in US dollars, so I completely understand that the Argentinians themselves are, struggling a little bit. And so that's something to take into account as well, or just to be aware about. But in my opinion, even with all of that happening and all the changes, it has been extremely safe here. There's not really any additional crime that I've noticed. But in terms of, affordability, prices, is it more expensive than other Latin American places, other South American cities and countries? Yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive if you're comparing it from a year and a half ago, of course. Yeah, if you're comparing it to a small village in Brazil, for sure. But you got to compare it to the larger cities because that's what it is. It's a larger city. And so, yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive, but I think it's still extremely affordable when it comes to rent, when it comes to if you're eating out all the time, you're going to be still paying $10, $15 every single time you eat out. But I would still say from Western prices 20, 30% less. When you're smart and you find your pockets and you don't go to the touristy spots, you can still find extremely affordable food. Drinks, in my opinion, cocktails are still way cheaper than Western side of things. I don't know a place that I've been to where a cocktail wasn't less than $12 or $15 in the last 2 years in Florida. So if I can get cocktails here for $5, $6, that's right, half price. I don't know where else I'm getting that other than a hometown dive bar. Beers, yeah, $4, but if you want beers at the shop or the kioscos, $1.50. So yeah, when you have kind of a strategy with everything, still affordable. Yes, is it affecting the Argentinians themselves? Yes, completely aware of that. But people freaking out saying that Argentina is uninhabitable because it's crazy expensive, I don't think that is the case whatsoever. I think I've even heard from a couple other people on YouTube, who have been here before and kind of understand that concept. It's still, it still is affordable compared to Western prices when you're comparing it with other major Western cities similar to that. So far, I've really enjoyed Argentina. I still think there's ways to, of course, make it affordable. Transportation around here is fairly easy as well. I walk everywhere. Now, I am curious to hear your guys' comments down below. What is your experience in Argentina, even in Buenos Aires? And then what do you think? Are you planning on coming out here? Drop any questions down below. I'd love to hear you guys' takes. But either way, I think it's been a beautiful area. I think it's still easily possible to be affordable. And that's my take. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.